Today we're going to talk about active listening. So active listening means you are actually not only talking, you are paying attention to your audience or to your interlocutor. Interlocutor মানে যার সাথে আমি কথোপকথন করছি. So why is this important? Important because it gives the other person or the audience a sense of being heard. If there is a condescending speaker মানে condescending কথার মানে হচ্ছে কারো দিকে নিচু করে তাকানো. So say I'm the condescending speaker. Oh, these guys really do not know anything. So all I have to do is like keep on talking. I don't mind whether they understand or not. So that is the stance of a condescending teacher or speaker. So that is not the way to go, because you have to pay attention to your audience whether they get your message or not. That is of prime importance. So that's what is being said here. That the act of active listening needs that the presenter understands, remembers, and thoughtfully responds to what any member of the audience asks or comments on. And that means that you have to really listen to them. You are talking. Well, to make your speech without any interruption, you are supposed to say before you start the speech that, okay, let me first deliver the speech, and when I finish the speech, then you can ask your questions. Or you can hand me a sheet, like a piece of paper, a question written on that, and then the speaker or the presenter can answer at the end of the session. Okay, but anyway, that means that I'm giving importance to your understanding. That's the prime thing. That's the most, that's the vital thing of getting your message across. So it helps individual objectively understand the information. Objectively, why are we calling it objectively? There are two pairs of words, objective and subjective. Do you have any idea? Objective means being neutral, not really being
positive or negative.
Not being influenced by your own opinion. Say, I like some things, but my audience doesn't like it, or they are saying something bad about it. So I just cannot depend on my belief that this is good. I have to really take the audience's opinion from a neutral point of view. So once you have a neutral point of view, that is called objective. Objectivity is the act. Objectivity meaning without bias. And the opposite to that is subjectivity. With bias. You can tell. So once you are actively listening to your audience, you are being objective, and that's a good thing. Because if the audience get a sense that no, whatever we say or whatever we comment on, this person is not going to listen to us. So they lose interest and they say, okay, they just give it up. So that's not a good thing for a presenter, because your audience must respond in a way that makes you feel that you are getting your message across. So that is the important thing. And you have to also be caring for their body language. Body language means nodding or whatever. I mean, it can be positive or negative. If you do not understand, you say, sorry, I'm not really getting it, or you shrug your shoulder. If it is positive, you say, okay, you're nodding. So these are, although we are talking about verbal communication, these are called non-verbal cue. Cue means ingit. I think it's a non-verbal cue. I'm looking at every one of you, and I am getting an impression what you are thinking. So a good presenter must do that. Without that, I mean, if I do not see anyone doing anything or I do not count their response, I'm not a good presenter. I mean, whatever I do will fall on deaf ears. Deaf ears below. Wale ke badha lagche, keu shunche na. So it really doesn't matter. You should not even talk. Once that thing happens, you should not even deliver your presentation because this is not getting anywhere. Okay. So there are some techniques the presenter should follow. So the first one is focus on the audience's comprehension level. Comprehension means understanding. Mone ache metric, intermediate English comprehension you get a passage, you get a description, then you have to answer some questions. So that means the questions are testing how good did you understand that particular passage or particular paragraph. So that means comprehension means the understanding, the level of understanding of your audience. So you have to realize that, I mean, if you are not really presenting well, a very well-meaning or knowledgeable audience, they will be very much without any care. I mean, they'll just they will not actually pay any attention. So what do? You have to use brain teasers. Brain teasers buzi amra. Some kind of quiz, like you stop your presentation, like what usually teachers stop and say, okay, let me ask you, what do you think about this, or what would be another scenario for this? I have described one scenario, and then I would like to engage you. But yes, tell me something. Okay, that reminds me that I am not employing that sort of things in the class. I have to ask more questions to the audience. So poll meaning, like if I'm saying that, how many of you think that this is right? So you guys raise your hand.
Kind of voting.
So this is like taking some vote or dividing the audience in terms of their thinking, in terms of their thoughts. So, and also question and answer sessions. Question and answer session means it can be in the middle of the speech, like you can entertain. Like usually in the lectures, what do? We say, you can ask any questions that you have. I don't mind if you stop me and ask questions. Okay, so that, or even say that the one I said a few minutes ago, that you tell them, keep your questions until the end, then ask me whatever questions you might have. Or you can pass me some piece of paper, writing your question on it, and then I'll answer after I finish. So that is the way of handling your question and answer session. But the ultimate aim is to engage the audience. There are many tools. Right now, I'm employing some non-verbal tools, like making eye contact. I'm making eye contact to everyone, so that they do not feel left out, or they will not be engaged in some other things, like surfing or whatever. So you have to do that. for being a presenter. You have to engage your audience in any way possible. So the second technique is make your words memorable for audience retention. What is the meaning of retention? Huh? Right, meaning ধরে রাখা. So you have to make your words memorable. You have to use the most appropriate word. Remember, we said a few slides ago that you have to have some kind of concrete word that really engraves into the mind. Engrave মানে কি খোদাই হয়ে যাওয়া তোমার স্টুডেন্ট অডিয়েন্সের মাইন্ডে খোদাই হয়ে যাবে, খোদিত হয়ে যাবে. So you have to make extra effort for that. It will not come naturally or easily. So you have to make some extra effort. So we have like some rules here. Rules of three. Rules of three meaning whenever you are using a slide, you cannot have more than 3 bullet points there. 3 points, not more than that. But although I have some more, but usually this should be not more than 3 points. And that those 3 points should not be very long paragraphs. We will talk about it in the later chapters. But for now, you should know that probably for 1 point, probably 2 or 3 lines. So that means on a slide, you should not have more than 9 lines at maximum. It should be, it is even better if you do it a little less. But what happens then? The pressure comes up on the speaker, right? If there are less stuff here, so the speaker has to talk from the top of his or her head, like he or she has to remember, because not much is said here.
So it's a presentation both
Exactly. This should be like only for giving the speaker a cue or some sort of sequence that the sequence of thoughts, what the presenter will follow. That's it, not more than that. You cannot just write everything down, like, oh, I have prepared a very good script, very nice flowery words, I'm just reading. No, you cannot do that. That will have to come from your inside. I mean, you have to make it flowery by saying it, not by reading it. Do you get me? Again, I'm saying that if you feel that, yes, sometimes what happens, I use complex sentences. So you get lost following that. So don't hesitate to raise your hand. Sir, I didn't follow. I'll be very happy to explain. That goes for everyone. That goes for everyone. Okay? What is 10, 20, and 30 rules? 10, 20, and 30 rules. It has to do with the presentation, right? At least 10 slides or maximum 10 slides. Sometimes we cannot do it because we have to compress. But the ideal would be 10 slides, 20 minutes. And the font of the lines or the sentences should not be more than 30 points. It should not go over 30 or it should not come down below 30. You can go like 28, might be tolerable, but 28, 30, that's it. Or maybe 32, but not more than that. It should be around 30. So that in that way, the presenter also gets a good view, and also the audience, they can also follow. All right. Pecha-kucha approach is a Japanese approach. This is like you are given some cue, then you have to speak extemporaneously. So that are some, but that is very tough though, because you have to not only speak on the spur of the moment, like I have been pushing you guys to do for the first and second presentation. You come over here and say whatever you want to say. But in order to make it memorable, you have to use very good sounding words. Because if I talk like a layperson and about my presentation, you're not gonna remember that. So that fails the approach of retention. So we have to take extra. It really, let me tell you, this really doesn't come overnight. Even if you kind of do that, that doesn't mean that it won't happen, but it won't happen overnight. I started making extempore speeches when I was in class 8. Then, remember, I was in class 8. Now, I'm in my 50s, mid-50s, okay? So, how many years? Almost 40, minus 10 or 12. 40 years, yes. So, you do not compare, you cannot compare that, yes, you will be able to speak. If you can do it, very good, good for you. Very good that if you can do it right now. But if you cannot, don't be frustrated. You can do it. If you have to just keep on practicing. All right. Then actively engage or respond to questions. So whenever you have a question and answer session, you have to treat each question with equal importance, although this is an irrelevant question. The operational question হয়, you have to answer or you have to make sure that the person who is asking it, he is respected. Like আমরা টিচার হিসেবে অনেক ক্লাসে এরকম পাই স্টুডেন্ট যে irrelevant একটা কোশ্চেন জিজ্ঞেস করে বসে থাকবে, but you should not be angry, or you should not, even if you should not show any signs of disrespect. এটা কি বলবো? No, you cannot do that. That really makes the person asking it very demoralized. Next time probably he or she won't ask even a good question. এটাই হয় কিন্তু বেশিরভাগ ক্ষেত্রে টিচাররা যদি খুব ডমিনেটিং হয়, টিচার যদি এই আমার কাছে কথা বলো চুপ, কোনো প্রশ্ন জিজ্ঞেস করতে পারবা না। So what happens, the student gets scared and he or she said, okay, I will read it afterwards. বাসায় পড়ে নিব না, দরকার নেই স্যারের ঝাড়ি শোনার দরকার না। That is not a good way to go. A teacher or a presenter must make sure that the audience is not afraid to ask questions, even though it can be irrelevant. But gradually, you have to make them understand that this was an irrelevant question. So, how do you respond to an irrelevant question? What do you think?
Fun way.
Ali, let me ask Ali. You don't time, right? তোমার কমেন্ট কি ছিল?
আমার ছিল স্যার যদি ওই রিলেটেড যদি কোশ্চেন করে তাহলে ওই টাইপেরই জাস্ট ফানি ওয়েতে বলো, তাতে অডিয়েন্সেরও কিছু লাভ।
Right, well, we will talk about it later, but this is not really important at this moment. You were smiling, and that person who is asking, he or she also gets, okay, probably it was a mistake for me to ask, but he or she is not scared. So the presenter has to be very, very friendly and smiling, and then making sure that the person asking it is not afraid. Oh yeah, sure. Because many a times, I remember one of my students. He is now very successful web developer. But in my theory of computation class, he used to ask all these irrelevant questions. First question was, "Sir, eglo pure ki hobe?" And then I was patient. I said, these have applications in engineering. It has application in compiler design. It has applications in circuit design, very large scale circuit design. So you have to know this. This is the foundation. I don't think so, sir. I'm like, he is always, he still is very, I would say, very proud. He came from a very humble background. Orgrame Wakai University student. So what happened? It gave him an immense pride. Yeah, well, I have done it. But he doesn't understand that sometimes they have to check back. Yeah, you know, because when you are a web developer, that doesn't mean that you know everything of computer science. What happened after 4 or 5 years, he came back to me and he said, "Sir, can I ask you something about regular expression?" I said, you are now interested in theory of computation. Why? He said, "Well, I'm trying to learn search engine optimization. So we need to know about regular expression." I said, "Okay, all right." I was happy that he finally got interested in this boring subject. So that happens. Yeah, and so you have to be, especially teachers, they have to be very, very alert about these sort of things. Because not everyone can see the connection. Even for this sort of topics, this is not a very difficult topic when I talk about art of presentation and about presenting. But many people may get the idea that this is not gonna help you that much. Not gonna help. Exactly. You are not the only one. Even when I was in many other topics, actually my university made it compulsory to take at least 30 credits in anything outside computer science. 30 credits. So that's a huge amount, at least 10 courses. So I was thinking that this is not going to help me. But later I found out that yes, my horizon was expanded. I mean, I had to take economics, political science, history, philosophy, music, literature. I took 2 courses in comparative literature, and I got really interested. And I came out with a 1A and another A- in 2 literature courses. So I didn't know that I could write, that kind of brought a potential out of me. And I discovered that yes, I can do it. So that helps you in your later life. Like talking about, you guys can tell, right? I can talk about any subject. I mean, if I know a little bit about it, I can talk about it. So this sort of thing comes from your general knowledge, not only the technique of writing codes, but you have to present to others also that yes, you have to be able to explain your code. What is it doing here? I mean, probably you have commented, but still there are a lot of things. Probably you have used some kind of updates and then assigned it all to. We do it all the time, right? The primary coders, they go for step by step, but especially experienced coder, they go for doing things in one line. So probably you have to explain that to newbie in your team. probably you are in a software development firm, and you are given, you have become a team leader. So you have been given a project. Now you have to explain that to your fellow team members. What do? You know very well, but you cannot explain, or you do not have adequate vocabulary to do that, or you have not practiced saying. So what will happen? Your team members will be very much discouraged. Okay, let's do it, but the product will not be a good product. So that is the thing. All right. So you have to, whatever questions they might ask, you have to actively answer that, and you have to show that, yes, I care. There are some useful phrases that you can use. Someone is asking a question, you are responding back. Mr. Ridoy, look at this. And also, Ayman, this is even better. Important for now. Three questions. I don't know whether you have that text. What are the three questions for a person in a particular point of time? So it says, it's a philosophical essay. It says, the person right in front of you is the most important person for you. Whatever you are doing right now, whatever you are here for, that's the most important task. And another question I forgot. So that means that whatever you are doing here for, you do not lay it out for later. Because all these things, whenever you are reading later, you will probably have some sort of confusion. But if you are thinking with me, if you are thinking, if you are with me, meaning যে আমার সাথে যদি তোমরা একই সাথে চিন্তা করছো, what happens? Your retention becomes better. তোমার মনে থাকবে বেশি। তারপরে taking notes, এটাও একটা ব্যাপার আছে। So you can, these are the techniques. I don't know whether these days probably they do not teach in the schools, but these are the techniques that you have to create some augmented memory, augmented intelligence, and whatever cognitive ability you are doing, you are using some computing power or computing device or some kind of mechanism to link it with your memory so that your retention gets better. এটা কিন্তু আমরা না জেনে ছোটবেলায় স্কুলে নোট নিচ্ছি, আমি জানতাম না, কিন্তু now I know when a few years ago that yes, that is part of the extended memory that we create. I don't know whether you have noticed that the more we are getting advanced in technology, we are losing our memory. We are thinking that keeping a memory, I have taken a picture, or I have, most of the time you guys do that. Whenever there is a notice for exam, here we probably get it on WhatsApp, but whenever you get it, people used to take snaps, and that's it. So what happened, I saw at least 5 or 6 cases like this. They are late for their exams. One guy showed up after the exam is over. Said, why are you late? Said, I thought the exam was at 12 o'clock, but it was scheduled to be at 10:30. What happened? He actually depended on his extended memory. Oh, my phone is having everything, so just দেখে নিব এক সময় পরে. And many a times we do that because current time আমাদের সময় থাকে না. I have lots of my PDF files here, lots of PDF files. I said, oh, I will read it when I was on a car or somewhere I'm waiting, I never get to read it. They're sitting there. এরকম হয় কিন্তু bookshelf. Your bookshelf has a lot of books. you said, okay, I'll read them. I went to Boimela, I bought a lot of books, and then I said, I just arranged them very nicely and said, well, one of these days I'll make out some time, I'll get some time out, and I'll read it. You never get to do it. So that means that we are depending on our extended memory. My memory is kept outside. No, that you cannot do that. It has to be sometimes taken in. That's also a systematic work that needs care. মানে এটা তোমাকে যত্ন করেই করতে হবে, বুঝে করতে হবে যে হ্যাঁ আমি মাঝে মাঝে এইগুলো করব। Anyway, so these are the phrases that actually makes the audience understand that they are reaching to the presenter. Presenter will be, let me confirm you said this thing, right? Then he nods and then the connection is established. Or can I make sure I understand what you have said? Like you are taking time. তোমাকে এমন একটা awkward question করেছে। দেখবে যে politiciansরা, they are in front of the camera. What do? They take a question, then they are like smiling, or they are saying something like this. Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question. I think you won't mind if I take 2 or 3 seconds. এইভাবে একটু ডিলে করে সে তার থিঙ্কিং প্রসেসটাকে চালিয়ে নিয়ে যায়, ঠিক আছে? এটা যত বয়স হয় তত কমতে থাকে। যেমন বাইডেনের ক্ষেত্রে আমরা এখন দেখছি, আমি জানি না তোমরা ভিডিওতে দেখেছো, ভুলভাল বলা শুরু করেছে সে। ট্রাম্পকে তার ভাইস প্রেসিডেন্ট বলছে, তারপরে জেলেনস্কিকে বলছে হলো পুতিন, যে ইউক্রেনের প্রেসিডেন্ট মিস্টার পুতিন। চিন্তা করো এই লোকটা, he is going to rule the world for the next 4 years. কি ভয়ঙ্কর ব্যাপার। On the other hand, you have a liar, fictitious liar, making up things. He is also going, মানে এই দুইটা চয়েস আমাদের কি ভয়ানক দুইটা চয়েস, যে মানে either this old person who forgets everything, or the liar person and the evil person who makes up things and who uses all kinds of rumors to make people instigate people. Instigate বুঝি আমরা, মানে লোকজনকে উস্কে দেওয়ার কাজটা সে করে দেয়। So we are in big trouble. The world is going to be nuts. হ্যাঁ? না সেটা তো বটেই, but what is happening is that in a way আমরা অনেক সময় realize করি না, they are controlling our world, আমাদের country, because the government has to have some sort of backing from the superpowers. Otherwise they cannot stay in power. So that is why this is problem. If you have a nice guy there, definitely this guy is going to be nicer. So তাকে nice হতেই হবে, কারণ ও বলছে। Otherwise probably he or she will withdraw his support. আমেরিকান অথবা ইন্ডিয়ান কেউ যদি সাপোর্ট উইথড্র করে নেয় আমাদের গভর্নমেন্টের কাছ থেকে, they are gone. These guys know that. And that's why they cater, তারা তাদের পায়ে গিয়ে পড়ে থাকে, তাদের কাছে গিয়ে পড়ে থাকে। So that's the মানে sad facts about world politics, but we have to be conscious about that.
স্যার আমি যদি দুর্নীতিগ্রস্ত তখন হয়তো ওদের পায়ে পড়ে থাকতে হবে, কিন্তু আমি যখন নীতিবান হব তখন তো আমি কখনো কারো পায়ে মান থাকবে না।
হ্যাঁ, that's true, but what will happen? Then they will try to kill you. That happened a lot in the history of the world. আফ্রিকাতে হয়েছে, আমেরিকাতে হয়েছে, even তাদের নিজেদের মধ্যেই হয়েছে। JFK, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Why? ওদের কথা শুনে, ভেতরের লোকজনের কথা শুনে। Oh, হ্যাঁ, right, some radical guy, very extremist. Anyway, so this is also thing. Probably your audience gave you some kind of statistics. Then you said, can I just check? Or let me just try to remember what was the actual statistics. So this is a way of taking time. And to respond also, but you are taking time so that you can organize your thoughts. কারো কোশ্চেন অ্যান্সার সেশনটা কিন্তু প্রেজেন্টেশনের চেয়েও চ্যালেঞ্জিং। You have to remember that. It is even more challenging than the presentation session itself. Because you have to be more prepared, you have to answer rapidly, you have to answer on the spur of the moment. You shut the answer দিতে হবে. So this is a considerable challenge. Okay, when you are summarizing, like you are framing because most of the time, the audience, when they are making a comment, what are they doing? They are probably not very organized. They're saying a lot of things. So you have to answer his or her question, you have to kind of arrange it. So then you say, can I summarize what you have just said? Then he or she nods, yes. Then you go for answer. Now then you said, would you please make it clear to me? ওখানে তুমি থেমে যাবে না। তখন তুমি বলবে যে, yes, then would you mind repeating again? এবং এরকম, I think you said something like that. Am I right? আমার মনে হয় যে আপনি এরকম কিছু বলেছেন বা এরকম কিছু জানতে চাইছেন। Am I right? Then he or she will respond. Checking, is that right? Have I understood it correctly? এই প্রত্যেকটা ক্ষেত্রে কিন্তু you have to use these sort of phrases to make audience more active. Yeah, there are many speakers. Hey, Owen, what is going on? You are distracting me. So now we talk about handling Q&A, question and answer. How many people are here for the second presentation? Please raise your hand. Let them answer by themselves. Then I will proceed. I will continue. If you guys say that yes, sir, we will present, then I'll stop. Otherwise, I'll continue. How about that? Any topic. For second presentation, you really don't have to worry that it should be very organized. Okay, all right, I got it. Let me continue. I'll continue for a few more minutes. Okay, all right. So I will do it for. Fortunately, this is the last slide that I'll be covering. Maybe another slide. Then we'll go for Ashfaq's presentation. Good. I like that spirit. All right. So, question and answer session. You have to really be prepared. First, you decide how are you going to take a question break. এটা কিন্তু একটা task যে ইস্যুদেরকে বোর্ড হয়ে যাচ্ছে তোমার অডিয়েন্স। Now, yes.
আমরা মূলত বিভিন্ন সেশনে দেখি একটা বা দুই ঘন্টা এরকম দেখি। এগুলো হচ্ছে অডিয়েন্স তো বোর্ড হয়ে যায়। এক্ষেত্রে প্রত্যেক প্রেজেন্টার একজন প্রেজেন্টার থাকে না, একজন থাকে, মোটামুটি 4-5 জন থাকে। এক্ষেত্রে এই প্রসেসটা কি
It depends, because I remember in last semester you had a session like that. Some people from outside gave a presentation about software testing, right? So they made this same mistake. When you have various presenters, you are supposed to divide the presentation or the topics among yourself, and there should be some kind of question break in between two presentations. Like, you're from the same team, but first you present, then you take a question break, then another guy comes in. Okay? So that's what we are talking about. You have 5 or 10 slides, then you stop, take a question break, and then Because what is happening, once you go for lots of slides, you are actually throwing lots of information at your audience. And as expected, the audience will lose everything. Because why? Usually we have, our working memory is very limited. There was a psychologist in 1956. He discovered that we can remember only 7 chunks of information real time. In real time. So that means 7 unit of information. 7 unit. But what is happening here now, I have exceeded that 7 units long time ago. So you won't probably realize, or maybe you cannot recall মানে কি মনে করা যে আমি প্রথমে কি বলেছিলাম. You may not probably recall or remember that. That is because our working memory is very limited. So remembering that, whenever you stop and take some questions and or recap বুঝি তোমরা না যে you have to summarize whatever you have said now, then the audience memory is better equipped to handle this. So we have to do that. In class lectures, it is really hard for us to do because we have to have some certain milestone to touch. কথা বুঝাতে পারছি যে আমার একটা নির্দিষ্ট লক্ষ্য আছে, এই লক্ষ্যটা আমাকে এই মাইলটুকু আমাকে যেতেই হবে. But usually the presentation you can if you have time, এগুলোর মানেটা কি? এগুলোর মানেটা হচ্ছে যে you have to really prepare, organize lots of things before you deliver your final presentation. So you have to know that how much time will I have, what should be the question breaks, and all these things you have to sort out before even starting till finalizing the presentation. Before finalizing the presentation, মানে তুমি তোমার presentation আগামীকাল আজকে শেষ করে ফেলতে হবে গুছানো যে আমি কিভাবে দিব, তারপরে কি আসবে, তারপর কি আসবে. হ্যাঁ, for teachers this is easy because we have been doing it for so long. যে আমি কোথায় কখন ব্রেক নিব, কি করব, এগুলো আমি মোটামুটি we can find out. But new presenters like you guys, it has to be thought out way before. অনেক আগে থেকে এটা চিন্তা করতে হবে. ঠিক আছে? So be prepared. That's all I can say because you have to have you have to be prepared for everything. আগে শেষ হয়ে গিয়েছে, you have a lot of time to answer your questions, or you have a lot of stuff to cover, but there is very little time to go for question and answer. These are 2 scenarios. So you have to be prepared for both of them. And that's why you should have a good backup plan and use this time to announce upcoming event, do any housekeeping item. Housekeeping বলতে আমরা কি বুঝি বলতো? কোন একটা পার্টিকুলার ইভেন্ট হচ্ছে, ইভেন্টে your presentation is over, but there are lots of time left. Therefore, you go for something interesting or something regarding the, like here. Okay, people, let me, I've finished my presentation, then I said, okay, let's talk about the types of questions that we'll have in the exam. So, এগুলো কি? These are filler. আমরা এসে দেখি, টিভি নাটক তো মনে হয় না তোমরা খুব বেশি দেখো, মানে দেখো আগে বাংলাদেশ বিটিভিতে কি হতো যখন there were not so many channels, বাংলা নাটক হতো, তখন কি হচ্ছে মনে করো নাটকটা শেষ হয়ে গেছে, একটা টাইম স্লট মনে করো 10:30-তে এই হওয়ার কথা, কিন্তু 10:30-র আগে শেষ হয়ে গেছে, আবার 10:30 থেকে অন্য একটা কিছু শুরু হবে, রাত 10 সাড়ে 10-এর কথা. So what would they do? They used to play music. They used to all of a sudden দেখা গেল যে কিছু ইনস্ট্রুমেন্টাল শুরু হয়ে গেছে, তোমার সেতার ইটি নিয়ে তারা ই করছে. I'm sure you have seen it. So these are called your filler. So presentation ক্ষেত্রে এই ধরনের filler বা টিচিং এর ক্ষেত্রে আমরা এই ধরনের ফিলার ব্যবহার করি আমার টপিক শেষ so I start talking about other stuff because I have to fill up the gap okay all right so silence is not always golden মানে কি তুমি চুপ করে বসে থাকবা এই শেষ no this is not really doesn't say anything good about it you have to engage people okay I guess I have covered a lot today well let's summarize দেখি আমাদের memory retention কিরকম let's summarize we started with K বললাম না যে working memory it has spilled over মানে কি এই একটা পাত্র আছে you pour water and the previous water that spills over নতুন পানি আসার পর পুরনো পানি পড়ে যাচ্ছে এরকম অবস্থা let me help you first we started with the active listening why and then we discussed the importance of active listening it helps you build a bridge with the audience you'll be delivering some content there should be some roads that will reach them so active listening then we discuss the techniques of active listening then we discuss the what should I say the phrases maybe the techniques that you can keep on invoking মানে ওই সময় তুমি এই টেকনিকগুলোকে কাজে লাগাচ্ছ invoke মানে হচ্ছে টেনে আনা করে আনা হ্যাঁ then you are using those techniques too and at the same time you have to prove to your audience that you are a patient listener patient মানে ধৈর্যশীল শ্রোতা you take their turn now মানে তাদেরকে কথা বলতে দাও তুমি you become the listener so with patience মানে ধৈর্যের সাথে শোনো and then you do something so that it proves that you are valuing their questions আর তারপর আরেকটা কি বললাম আমরা irrelevant question কিভাবে আমরা অ্যানসার করতে পারি ঠিক আছে so mostly and then we talked about question and answer sessions question and answer session এটা সবার কাছে মনে থাকবে যে ব্যাপারটা এরকম যে this is really challenging that's for sure but you have to plan ahead কিরকম যে তুমি delivery দেওয়ার আগেই you decide whether you will let the audience ask questions in between your presentation or at the end if it is at the end then let them inform them that yes we will have a question answer session please keep your questions on a piece of paper so that I can answer you after the session is over so that's it all right that's the end of today's lecture now we'll go for the presentation